Hello, World of Tank Blitzers. It's Littlefinger. Today's December 14th, and I'm going to do a full tank review on the Bisonte C45, which you see here in the garage with the premium camo. Reason for doing this review now is this tank hit the auction yesterday for 8,500 gold. I didn't know anything about the tank. I didn't have it, so I went ahead and purchased it. Wanted to give you my thoughts on the tank. There's currently 2,200 of them left in the auction. The price has dropped to 7,750. Tomorrow it will drop to 7,000, where I think it is a better deal at 7,000 or below. Quite honestly, I overpaid for this tank, and we'll get into the reasons why here in just a little bit. While we're here, let me just point out one thing unique about the tank here. It has the reserve shell, which we've seen in some of the other tanks. Typically, those have been tanks with 3 shells in the magazine, not just 2. So you'll see here 5.78 seconds reload time from the first to second shell, and then 16.5 if you don't have any shells in the magazine. So this really is the difficulty in playing this tank well, is really deciding when to use that reserve shell. When you've got 3 shells in a magazine, basically just never ever have to worry about using it unless absolutely necessary. This one you have to be a little bit more strategic, and I'll talk about that when we get into some gameplay. So while we're here, I'll just go into my setup right now. I've played around with this, played about 25 battles in it yesterday. Repair kit, multi-purpose, and engine power boost. Can't run adrenaline as we have the autoloader. Running cheesehead, the improved fuel, and standard fuel. It's a fairly slow tank, trying to get this thing to move a little bit faster. Just real quick, 37, 11, and 12 on the loadout here. Really haven't used much HE in the tank. It doesn't have great HE pen at all. Now, I did run improved vents for a little while on this tank, and I really struggled, even with my premium heat rounds, to pen some of those heavy tanks. So I've settled on calibrated shells as being the better of the 2 options, getting that heat up to 281. As you can see here, our HE is only at 58 with this option. Running defense system and improved optics. Part of the reason there is we're a heavy tank. We should be closer to the front lines. We shouldn't be sitting in the back. Enhanced gun lane drive gets our aim time down to 4.5. I haven't played around with the supercharger on this. Really been focusing on that aim time. But what I have noticed is the shell velocity on this tank is not good. So I might play around with that a little bit and see if we get some better results. Also played around with the enhanced armor, but settled on improved assembly, and we'll see why when we get to the armor inspector here in a second. Engine accelerator, running refined gun. Primarily, we're not shooting on the move, so the vertical stabilizer doesn't help us out there. And then enhanced tracks and consumable delivery system. All right, guys, here's armor inspector with the Bisonte C45. You can see here, spaced armor is in pink. It is pretty thin spaced armor, but nonetheless, we are pretty well protected from HE shells in this tank. The armor, though, is pretty light, in my opinion, for a heavy tank. So let's take a look at that. We can see here 88 mil on the front here. When we start getting into some of the sloped armor, it gets up to 126. Now, my issue with this tank here is you've got some spots here on the turret that are fairly easy to pen. To try to compensate for that, you really want to work those ridge lines, use that 8 degrees of gun depression, and get the tank behind a hill or hard object so they can't shoot that lower plate. And so you can see as we start to rotate the turret, just how much green pen area there is on the side of the turret. And then it doesn't take too much to over rotate this tank from the side. And what I have noticed is I get shot in here frequently. It's just, I guess, part of this tank. And we look at it from the side here. It's only 90 millimeters, 85 millimeters thick. So for a heavy tank, you know, that is not the best armor. 100 there on the side of the turret. So keep that in mind when playing this tank and getting to proper locations on the map. And just to talk about the characteristics, I'm going to use Blitz Hanger here, Bisonte C45, Tier 8 heavy tank. And these are the provisions and the equipment that I currently am running, so we'll compare it that way. Pretty low on hit points at 1855. View range is pretty nice for this tank. We can see here as we get into the damage per minute number. And I'm not exactly sure how this is calculated, because the way I see it is if you are patient and you can wait that 5.8 seconds, you should be able to essentially get about 20 shots off, which would be a much higher DPM than the 2267. Pen's okay. The one thing I don't like about it is the heat pen. You can see how far down we are, which is, again, the reason for running the calibrated shells. I mean, we take that off, and, you know, this tank is pretty far down there at 255 versus 281. The damage numbers are not great for the amount of damage you do with the shot. So those two things combined really make this for a little bit of a tricky tank to play. 105 millimeter gun. And like I said, 2 shells in the autoloader. If you're going to shoot that second shell immediately, you do have to wait 2.5 seconds for that to be ready. But of course, that comes with a painfully long, almost 17-second reload time on that first shell and 5.8 on the second shell. Gun handling is decent for being a heavy tank. Mobility here is not horrible moving forward, but I certainly did notice the rear backup speed was quite nice as well. So yeah, let's put this into some gameplay and see how it performs on the battlefield. All right, guys, here we are, first battle. As you can see, 5.8 seconds for reloading that first shell, 2.5 after I shoot this shell to get to the last shell in the magazine. And then we have a long 16+ second reload just to get that first shell, and then another 5.8 to get the second shell. So quite honestly, the key here, I believe, on playing this tank well is really making good decisions on when to use that reserve shell. So we're coming up on A. We are bottom tier. We just had a guy spot up at C. There's the heavy at A here. So I'm going to pop in and get behind this rock and go ahead and start with the base capture. Got a tank Type 68 with me here for support. And as of right now, it only looks like the WZ111 is on the side. So if we push this guy, we should be able to finish him off pretty quickly. There's our first shot in the tank, 277 damage. And you'll see here, I am now waiting for this number to get down to 0 before I take my next shot. And there we go. Like I said, we'll finish him off quite quickly. All right, so this has been one of those games here where their team went C except for the one person. There was another person in town. I believe he dropped down into the valley there. So we'll go ahead and come back around. This is what I typically like to do, is come back and support those guys that have been holding the flank. I do get burned by this quite a bit because oftentimes my team thinks that they can, I guess, catch up to the other team and keep circling the map, and I'm oftentimes left without additional support. So we see we get that shot in there, and now again I'm waiting for that shell to reload. He's going to show me his side. We'll go ahead and pick up the kill there. We've yet to use our reserve shell in this fight. AMX. And this is one of those games, lopsided, not much we can do about it here. Straight into the back. We set a fire. Probably could go ahead and shoot now. Yep, and get the kill. The reason I did that is because I have no other targets available to me at the time. There's only one person left, T77 here. And as you can see, as we're moving our way up to him, we'll have reloaded. We're getting that second shell in there now. We should come across the top. And this is where I do a poor job of deciding what shell to use. Should go ahead and shoot right now, but I was thinking of waiting to reload. And of course, the tanks all around me shot him and got the kill, where I could have gotten an extra shot in there. So that is part of the challenge of maximizing your damage on the tank. 2230, you know, where did that put us? It put us second on the team. We did a nice job. We got some extra XP in there for capping that base out early, which is why that was a level 1 on that battle. All right, so second battle here is on Canyon. We'll go ahead and fast forward this as, yeah, I'm gonna go and work my way up to the middle of the map. This is quite key on this map, and really irritates me when we don't have a tank that, and sometimes it is a sacrifice going up here to spot, but you get such great map control. I've got 8 degrees of gun depression, so this is a tank that I can certainly work in this area. I do have halfway decent turret armor as well for any of those TDs that are sitting in spawn or to my left here that might try to take a shot at me. But you know, getting these guys spotted up is so important to getting a good battle in. As you can see there, we bounced 460 from their spawn. Probably took a little bit too long to aim there. That's probably their G-SOR shooting me. I had that second shell loaded already. Get one more shot in. I was trying to go for the kill here. We get the kill. So now I have emptied my magazine. I did take one shot for it. We were able to bounce a couple more. But now, yeah, I'm stuck with this long reload. And I'm getting kind of upset here because, you know, I've got 3 tanks to my right. And there's just one tank there in the left. And as you can see, those heavies on the far side of the map, they have not pushed in. Now we've got the Scorpion and the G-SOR over there. So I'm feeling the pressure, and that is part of the problem with coming this side if you don't have a lot of support. But I've got 2 TDs and a medium over here, so not sure what that guy's trying to do. Go ahead and finish off the Chieftain there. And the 59 Patton has just got himself in a really bad crossfire situation. Was not a good position to be in. But you can see my heavies still there, haven't even gotten around the corner, so they can't even put any pressure on the 53 TP at all. We're gonna try and help him out here. And for whatever reason, I meant to put it on heat, I think, and got switched over to HE. And it's 4 on 3, and I went ahead and emptied my shell there, just wanting to get back to safety. Get unspotted. We still got 1,200 hit points to play with here. 53 TP, waiting on that aim time. Decide to go ahead and finish him off. We do take a shot from the lava there. And it is now 3 on 2, and I have the RHM, who's a one-shot behind me, just double checking that. And so my thought process is here is they're gonna come down from straight ahead of me. The RHM should be able to spot and at least pick one of them off. If I can get to the other side here of the hill and keep them spotted, and maybe help out our RHM get a shot in there, maybe we can pick one of these guys off. And as we come up, this would be a spot where I would have thought that the RHM would have been ready for that. And the Lovas decided to go around, and guess what? The tank came from behind as well. Just wondering here what actually the RHM was doing there. So kind of upset that, you know, he let me get basically circled in that and didn't even hit anybody. So tough loss, but that's the way some of these games go for sure. We did manage to do 3292 in damage in a losing effort there. And, you know, this guy going into the middle here, and this guy just not doing anything to help the team out. So, now on to the next battle. Alright guys, so as we get started here on Castilla, we'll fast forward again. I am going to go up to the windmill. You can see the difficulty in the tank here is making that decision on when to use the reserve shell. It's certainly much more complicated by the fact that, you know, you don't have that third shell in the magazine. Wanted to go ahead and try to get an early spot. Annihilator's taking a very nice position here. We should be able to get a shot in, but no, we're going to track him. And there again, I decide, you know what, it's better for me. I wasn't sure if I was spotted. Go ahead and use both of my shells and get back into cover. Use the cover time here to reload. And we can start pulling up with about 5 seconds left, knowing that by the time I get pulled up, we'll be fully loaded. And we've got Leo up here. Now you can see I am not going to waste that shell. I'm gonna wait for that number to get down to 0. Once it's at 0, we take that shot again. It's so tempting just to hit that fire button when you see a green reticle. But it is such a painful long reload there. So now we're fully loaded again. Getting that second kill. 1300 damage now. Was going to go ahead and shoot the Annihilator and wait for a long reload because that would have been a kill shot. So typically I think you're seeing my strategy is use that reserve shell for a kill shot. Had contemplating backing on down here, but I know that there was a tank there on my side that was going to shoot at me, so I wanted to use their tanks for cover. Thankfully, their Bisonte didn't engage on me sooner. I am waiting for that shell to reload. Then we'll see what the armor profile looks on the opposing Bisonte. We get ammo racked there. And we're waiting patiently. And I was just a second, 0.2 of a second too early on that. And that is the difficulty. I wish there was a setting that showed you exactly, you know, in the reticle maybe. But we'll go ahead and get the kill on the AMX. And let the IS-3 or the Skoda finish off Bisonte there. So we've managed to bounce a few shots in each of these battles. It hasn't been consistent. But yet, you know, it still works a good ridgeline. Now, before I go ahead and show my last battle here, I do want to show you guys, look, I'm showing you the battles that I survive in and manage to make it to the end. But 25 battles in, I'm only at 40% win rate. So to that end, I'm not saying that this is a tank that, you know, you can carry battles in. It's just not. All right, guys, so last battle here on Alpenstad. Go ahead and fast forward this. And right now, what I'm doing here is I'm waiting to see what the other team does. One of my biggest weaknesses, I think, for myself playing in a heavy tank is I feel like I need to be on the front line. And oftentimes, I push ahead of what I think my team should be doing and following me to the locations on the map. And that doesn't necessarily always happen. So if I can just pause a little bit at the start, I think it helps my gameplay. You know, again, how many times at 6 minutes and 10 seconds left in the game have you seen someone YOLO in and die already? It really just doesn't help the team. You know, you really need to just let battle set up, and then look for your weaknesses. Like both of these guys, the VZ and the IS, are focusing further into town, and they're not paying me any attention. And you know, I'm gonna just sit here and wait for my shells to reload. And I'm tempted there to take the kill shot, but I don't think this guy's going anywhere, so I can go ahead and get the kill shot anyway and keep that reserve shell. Trying to help out my team with the IS-5 here. We are loaded. Get a shot into him, and we can back up. And here you see that nice reverse speed there of 18 kilometers per hour. He's engaged, so we can wait for that shell, get one in, and let's see if we can get the kill shot. Yeah, we get the kill shot, so we use that reserve shell. Save the T-2020 if maybe a shot. I saw the Samoa get shot from straight away there, so I figure they've got probably that SU sitting up on the ridge line there. Didn't want to go that way. But right now it's still looking fairly close. However, these guys are going to start falling quickly. And you'll see there another ammo rack. And now the driver's injured. We are fully loaded. And this is just stupidity on my part because I didn't even aim that second shot in. I thought I was aimed on the side of the tank. And that's going to cost me the kill here. And just a little bit of damage. And since I'm waiting on this super long reload here, it's also going to cost me the kill on the SU. One tank left. And in this engagement on the RU, you'll see where that 2.5 second reload time certainly comes in handy. We're going to come around. He's going to take out the SU. The SU just fired and missed, so the RU knows he can come in and get the kill. But he's going to try to keep getting away, and that's not going to happen with 2.5 second reload time. So another 2,800 damage. Battle in the tank. You know, I've been able to get the damage per minute number up in this tank to a reasonable place where I think my win rate should be a little bit better. You know, it's close to the holidays. We're getting some crazy teams out there, so I'm going to keep playing this tank, see if we can refine our decision making on that reserve shell. But you know, I don't think the tank is worth 8,500. It have 7,750 going down to 7,000 tomorrow. Maybe a better option. I do like the fact that it is a little unique with the reserve shell. It does make you think a little bit different during the battle. I just kind of wish the turret armor was a little bit better. But outside of that, that's kind of interesting. So I'll let you guys make your decision there in the auction with about 2,200 of them left still for sale. And of course, guys, please, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Of course, have fun out there. Stay safe. Get educated. Not fingered. Littlefinger out.